Okay, before I start, to Mr. Rilo Jenkins, I've got all 3 fights lined up. I'm going to watch the first one this evening because, you know, judging by the comments, I've asked a lot of people, does it reflect badly on my boxing knowledge if I ain't seen these fights? And to be honest, I mean, I'm not winning. Right? So I've got the fights lined up and I'm going to watch the first one tonight. I'm going to try and watch 2 of them tonight. That's what I'm going to do to readdress that. For all of those who don't know what I'm talking about, that's the Rafael Marquez, Israel Vasquez trilogy. I haven't seen none of the fights, and like Rilo Jenkins pointed this out that it's a travesty. And I asked a few people, does this reflect badly on my standing as a boxing fan? I asked knowledgeable boxing fans, and you know, I know Errol Jarrett is going to side with Rilo Jenkins on that. And to be honest, it looks like, you know, I've got to watch these fights. I'm going to get it done. I mean, I've got no defense. So, you know, I know some of you are probably going to write in the comment box on this video and say, yeah, I mean, how comes you ain't seen these fights? But let's move on.
Well, I read today that James DeGale mentioned in the press conference yesterday that after a couple of warm-up fights, he'd be ready to step up to fight you. What's your opinion on that?
Well, my opinion on that is he's exactly right. He's not ready for me yet. You know, that's what he said. He's not ready to test me yet and try and get in the same ring as me. But one day he might be. And, you know, he's a sensible lad for saying that.
Yep, I agree with that. Can't argue with that. Yeah, let's move on. Here's Froch breaking down his next title challenger, Yusaf Mack.
And I watched him for a round against Tavoris Cloud. He looks tall, rangy, looks like he can box and move well. He's got fast hands, and he can obviously punch. He's a light heavyweight. He's a light heavyweight fighter. He can punch quite hard. But you know, I'm confident I'm going to do the business and get him out of there.
He's also been knocked out about 3 or 4 times and has done nothing at world level to deserve this shot at your title. He has stamina problems, he has chin problems, he has concentration problems. But Froch regularly describes Andre Ward as a spoiler. Arguably the pound for pound best fighter in the world. In my opinion, he is. But when you're describing Yusaf Mack, your next opponent, all you do is talk about his strengths. Yeah, he's got fast hands, he can punch, and this is tall, he's a light heavyweight. Yeah, well, why don't you mention his fragilities, you know? You say that Andre Ward will make for a bad fight if you had a rematch. So what? Are you telling me the crowd are getting geared up and they're enthusiastic if they have any boxing knowledge to watch you pound on this guy here? Are you serious? Are you telling me that Froch versus Yusaf Mack is a worse match than a rematch with Ward? Come on, you can't have it both ways. That's the thing. You just can't have it both ways.
These are all the emails that were sent to everybody regarding the fights I mentioned. Every one of them. Fights that we were offering for, like, for example, we offered Matchroom. I didn't make the offer to Matchroom a couple of weeks ago. That offer was made in June. June. That's months ago. And they weren't interested. They said that Carl Froch was staying at that weight. That's his choice. But there's no way Carl Froch's getting £1 million and has never earned £1 million for any fight. Ever.
I was debating with Errol Jarrett the other day whether Carl Froch had a big fan base, because I remember just a few months ago where he was struggling to secure TV dates on cable networks, right? When he had a world championship belt. Yeah? Frank Warren just said he's never earned £1 million ever for a fight. And I'm sure Froch says on this video here that he's fought 8 world title fights on the trot. 8. And he hasn't secured one single £1 million purse for one individual fight yet. And Eddie Hearn might come out and dispute that because he's very outspoken. And if it wasn't true, I have a feeling Eddie would have disputed that, but he hasn't. So I'm just going to assume that Frank Warren is telling the truth. But yet, you want to talk about Andre Ward not being able to sell no tickets in his hometown? Well, you're not exactly setting the world alight either. So, I don't know. You're not in no position to talk. I've heard several people say they don't like how Froch fights. They don't like his stance. I've never said it, because the most a fighter can do is use what he has. He can't do any more than what his mind allows him to see. So I have no problem with that. Yeah? But when you're going to come out of your glass house and start throwing stones at the pound for pound best Andre SOG Ward? Come on, dog.
He started laughing. He thought it was a joke. He said, "Yo, Solo, you had a little too much to smoke."
If they had the choice between Kessler or Ward in a rematch, who would you go for?
For the fans, Kessler every day of the week. You know, the fans aren't excited. I don't get any feedback or any positivity from the Ward fight. People aren't really interested in watching me fight Ward again. It's something personal that I'd like to avenge. But the Kessler fight, really, I mean, if I was given the option for the two, definitely Kessler, because television, fans, everyone will go mad for that fight.
Maybe the reason that nobody is asking for the Ward rematch is because you was comprehensively schooled, as Frank Warren said.
What sort of stupid talk is that from Eddie Hearn? And then calling Carl Froch a legend, fella who's been beaten, you know, he's a good fighter, fella who's been beaten by Kessler, who Joe Kawasaki beat him, not only beat him, I think ruined him as a fighter. Got taken to school in America, absolutely taken to school in America by Andre Ward, or not, you don't agree with that?
He was beaten by Andre Ward.
Got taken to school. You know, anyone who knows anything about boxing, so let's, legends, do me a favour.
It's just fantastic, and I've got to thank Eddie Hearn for that, because, you know, he's done what he said he would do, and he brought a world title to Nottingham. I won it for him, you know, because he said, "I'll bring it back to you. I'll bring it to Nottingham. You've got to do the business."
Okay, the IBF, most of the boxing world, they acknowledge the IBF belt, the WBC, the WBA, the WBO, blah, blah, blah. Okay. But it was barely a year ago when you were schooled by the premier super middleweight champion of the world, the pound for pound best fighter, in my opinion, and a lot of other people's opinion. You were schooled. So, regardless if your belt is recognized as one of the recognizable belts, how legitimate is it really? This is the problem with modern day boxing, like when Ashley Fearpain was advertising them supplement products on the back of the Boxing News, and they billed him as a world champion. Who did he beat to be a world champion? I'm not saying Fearpain is a bad fighter, but when was this world title? When did it occur? I live in Britain. How comes I don't know about this? How comes the newspapers have never once acknowledged Ashley Fearpain as a world champion? And how can any super middleweight walk around saying they're a world champion while Andre Ward has breath in his lungs? It's just, oh man, ridiculous.
People are looking at the loss and saying, you know what, it's not that bad. He's lost to Ward, but Ward is like Mayweather. And I'm the closest guy to ever come to beating him, and I had a bad night at the office. You know, I underperformed that night.
The truth is, you did no better than Alan Green did against Ward, in all truth. And it's arguable if Sakio Bika didn't give Ward a harder fight than you did, in all truth.
I can live with it. I'm quite happy with it. I think the rematch would be different if the rematch ever happened, but I don't need to justify myself or make excuses. You know, I'm in there to fight and do my job and excite the fans.
Have you noticed that fighters who are not the greatest technically adept, who are not at the pinnacle elite level in terms of skills, you know, they always talk about exciting the fans and pleasing the fans. They don't talk about what skills they have to implement to neutralize a technically difficult fighter. No, they talk about, I have to get a fighter who fights exactly like me to please the fans. Really, you're just really simplifying it. And it works because you've dumbed down so many fans out there. And it's just a repeat of the Ricky Hatton Jr. Witter situation. And today we have Nonito Donaire and the Rigondeaux situation. Now, I'm not saying that Rigondeaux would necessarily beat Donaire. I'm not saying that. Donaire would have to go in favourite at the moment. He's fought the harder competition, he has. But the way he dismisses Rigondeaux's ring prowess, tries to dismiss a fight with him, when a lot of the public would like to see the fight, including Bob Arum. Right? It's kind of ridiculous. And Ricky Hatton used to say, I would beat Junior Witter anyway, so why do I need to fight him? How does that work? Yeah, and what? What was that? It means nothing, really. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean shit. You know what I'm saying? That has no relevance in the pound for pound rankings. There's no relevance on BoxRec. It doesn't it means shit. It doesn't register on BoxRec. Talking shit like that. Now, if you're going to come out and say, I'm not going to box him because it doesn't make financial sense, I don't agree with that. I understand it. But to say I would beat him anyway, I don't need to? No, surely not. That sounds like a little child's argument, in my opinion. If you're a boxer, you should at least give that impression to the public that, yeah, I'm willing to take on all comers. I'll fight him in his backyard, southpaw, slugger, whatever. And then let your management team and your promotional people, let them weasel you out the fight for whatever reasons. But don't you come out in public and try to build up your BoxRec by talking about fights you don't want to fight and the fights you want to fight. That's just, it's not, you know. And Froch always calls Ward a spoiler. He's not no spoiler, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? He's not a spoiler. Yeah. I know a spoiler. A spoiler is a gatekeeper or a journeyman. Spoilers do not win fights at elite level. They don't win Super Sixes because a spoiler, when he gets in a difficult fight, he will spoil so much that the referee will have to deduct points off his score. Sometimes it reaches the point where the referee has no choice but disqualify him and throw his ass out the ring. Yeah? Spoilers lose fights by wide margins because they're not coming back with no offense. That's a spoiler. So that's not right as well. That's not. It's called defense. Yeah. When Tony Blair is considering to go to war with another country, he doesn't come out and say, yes, I've got to consult with the Ministry of Offense. No, he consults with the Ministry of Defense. D, motherfucker. Right? Before any offense is mounted, right? The base strategy of attack from the viewpoint of warfare, the base strategy of attack is defense, is defense, right? You get what I'm saying? Right?
D, motherfucker, D. Learn to speak English first, all right? D.
Defense, right? Just because you can't implement it effectively at this level doesn't give you the right to demean fighters who can. Doesn't give you the right. And you can keep repeating these same lines and reheating them and rehashing them. No. You're still not a better fighter because you take more punches. And that's just how it is.
Even though everybody thought you had a great chin, now it's become known as the chin. One of the best chins in all of boxing at this point. Is that something that you find to be a great attribute, or are you just getting hit too much to have to put it to the test?
I'm getting hit too much. It's wrong. I shouldn't be getting hit. The best chin is the one that doesn't get hit, let me tell you. That's the best chin in the business.
What do you think of this guy's chin? I mean, he took some blows that really would have knocked down walls.
In the school of boxing that I come from, that's frowned upon, giving up free shots. Because we know what those kind of shots do to a man's career, regardless of whether it shows up now or shows up when you least need it. It takes a toll. He's got one body, one brain, and the more shots you take, the quicker you break down in the sport. So I think he takes a good shot, but I take a good shot too. But taking too many shots is not good for any fighter.
I'll second that.
And that's not really the reputation you really want.
Told you guys that I'm going to defend Andre Ward's credentials as the pound for pound best fighter. I said I was going to do that. So, you know, I'm as good as my word. You know what I mean? That's what I'm going to do. And the other reason I made this video is Carl Froch kept taking digs and little sly snipes at Andre Ward in numerous interviews and videos I've seen. So I thought it was just the right time to address Andre's standing and Carl Froch's stupidity. So that's what it is. Peace out.